Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Covenant Army Podcast, where our mission is to equip couples to align with God and win the daily battle raging against marriage and family. We're so excited to have you back with us today, because today we're going to talk about dating, but dating and being married. So, sweetie.
Yeah.
What do you think? How do you think this is all going to work out today?
So when you're talking about dating when married,
Yes.
give me a little bit more context there.
Well, because a lot of people, it seems, not everyone, that after you get married, the dating kind of tapers off a little bit. And a lot of people aren't really intentional when it comes to dating. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, as the years kind of go, it's kind of like sometimes dating kind of goes on the back burner. At least that's what we're seeing in a lot of relationships.
Well, I think it's interesting because a lot of couples, I feel, put dating on the back burner to raise kids, right?
Yeah.
But what are you teaching your kids about dating and being in a relationship? Because I don't feel like they're very aware that the kids are watching what you're doing and you're showing them how to be in a relationship and how to date based on how you're dating in your marriage.
Well, let's be fair here. Because when you're having kids, our kids come into the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so ideally, you guys fall in love. Well, I should say you're dating, you fall in love. You make this commitment, you get married, start doing life together. It's hot, it's fire, we're working, we're learning.
It's
going
hot
great.
as fire.
It's hot as fire. And then, pregnancy starts to happen, which changes things up a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? Because you guys are focused on this great gift that God is bringing into the picture.
Okay.
And then we have our first baby.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody knows that's ever had a baby. And if you haven't, babies take a lot of time, energy, and effort.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Because, let's just be honest, because like a baby is fully dependent upon its parents for survival.
Mm-hmm.
Fully dependent for everything. So obviously that time that we're invested in our relationship and our marriage,
The energy shifts a little bit.
We have to carve that time out to take care of this human being that we're now responsible for. So it makes sense why we're probably not doing exactly the same things we were doing in the beginning. Right?
As intentional about the actual couple relationship.
Correct. You know? So it makes sense why it may go on the back burner for a time and period. Right? Because you have to shift focus a little bit.
So yes, but for the most part, the mom is shifting a lot of her focus and energy and attention to the baby.
Okay.
For the most part.
Well, what about the dad?
Hold on. I'm not saying the dads don't take part in it, but for the most part, the mom has like probably the most essential role at the beginning.
Yeah, because you're the human milk dispenser.
Well, yeah,
So,
we're the ones that kind of take over like the beginning stages of life, so to speak. However, it doesn't mean that dad can't still be intentional about, showing love to mom and making her feel special. Maybe even doing like a picnic on the floor in the living room for when she comes out, all spit up from the baby.
I was going to say, wait a minute, that's not really romantic in that early... Okay, hold on. What I mean... What are you looking at?
Well, because I'm a woman, I will tell you that if I'm coming out of my room after putting a baby to sleep, yes, I'm exhausted. Yes, I may have spit up on my shoulder. Like I may be a hot mess. But if I walk out and I see that you have set up a little picnic in the family room, like that's pretty awesome. At that, I don't know. I'm sure we can get some comments back on this, but I would feel that other women would likely feel like that's awesome. You made her a priority even though there's all this stuff happening.
Okay. So would you count that as a date then? Is that what you're getting at?
That would almost be like an indoor at home date.
Okay.
Because right in this moment, and I get it. Yes, I remember being in that early kid stage where you didn't even have like a lot of time to just breathe, carve time for yourself. Heck, I remember days where it would literally, I remember just taking care of the baby and I would look at the clock and it'd be 4 and I'm like, I have to go brush my teeth. Like that's how intense it was.
Right.
So I know as a woman, feeling like our priority is important. And if I walk out of the bedroom after putting the baby to sleep and I see that you have gone out of your way to make me feel special amidst all the chaos, that would be awesome.
Okay.
So yes, it would be romantic. Because you said it wouldn't be, you didn't feel like it would be romantic. Absolutely it would.
Well, I'm just saying, because typically around that time, from what I remember, you just wanted some rest. You were just tired and exhausted and you needed rest.
Nobody said that I wouldn't eat the food that you set up in the picnic and then
I think you would fall asleep while eating the food.
Possibly.
What would happen.
But not before I would appreciate the gesture.
Okay.
Just saying.
So, yes, with all that saying, we got into the baby side of stuff. But yeah, I mean, because of so much energy going into that, you definitely have to be really intentional about dating in the early stages when you have small children.
Within your marriage.
Within your marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Because that's really what today's podcast we're going to be talking about is, because in the previous Relationship 101, we're talking pre-marriage.
Right. Dating
courting,
stages.
Dating, godly characteristics and all that, guys. And go back and check that podcast out, or those podcasts out.
Right.
It's a lot of great content and a lot of information. But now we want to focus on, we're married now. And like we said before, dating is important in marriage. It doesn't stop after you get married.
Which a lot of people don't recognize that.
Well, again, I think it's because life kind of just starts going and moving so fast. And we've got so much stuff going on in our lives nowadays. A lot of people do. They just don't have their time allocated. They don't see the importance of dating. It's not a priority anymore like it once was.
Yeah, because a lot of people are like, well, we're already married, so nobody's going anywhere, or so they think.
That was one of the questions I wanted to ask. Do you think we've kind of got in that mindset where we're already married, we're committed, it's not really the focus, like we're not trying to pursue each other like we once were?
Hold up a second, because you're saying we. Are you talking about us, or are you talking about in general?
In general.
In general, I do feel like some couples are like, yeah, we're here, we wake up together, go to bed together, hopefully. And like we're here, but there's all this other stuff happening, so we just got to take care of this other stuff.
Right. And that's what I'm curious, is it just the culture and the mindset that we've been trained to believe that once the guy's caught his wife and she's his now, now I can shift my focus to going out, making money, doing the career thing, providing for my family. And again, it's not on the forefront like it once was.
Right. I think that is a thing for men, specifically if we're going to talk about men. I feel like once because you pursue, right? You're chasing down this woman that you really want. You finally marry her. She's yours. So now what's the next pursuit, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So you start pursuing, career. How do I make money to provide, to be the best provider that I can be?
Yep.
And sometimes in that pursuit of the career, you may forget that the woman still wants to be pursued.
Right. And
as she was in the beginning. And
for wives, again, they've now shifted the focus to starting this family. Kind of going into that mom stage and focusing on the family, trying to make the house a home.
Right.
And some people are going to say, yeah, this is like traditional kind of thinking. But it's kind of what naturally you start to see begin to happen.
Right.
In the household. Or that wife could start, okay, now we're married, now let's both focus on our careers.
Yeah, that happens as well.
It's that kind of mindset as well before the kids come.
Right.
But again, kind of focus on these other things and not really inwardly focus on the relationship aspect of it.
Right.
And that's what I mean by like having so many things that are going on and just trying to, the way I see it now is probably just filling our time with a whole bunch of distractions. We got hobbies, we got jobs, we got friends, we've got
devices.
Well, yeah, those two now, because that is a real big time taker.
Yeah.
In relationships now, social media, and we always have something to say about that. We're going to do a podcast on that actually in the future, I think.
Yeah.
Social media and marriage very soon, because we're seeing a lot of feedback on that. But all these things are vying for your time and attention. And if all these things are getting your time and attention, what about the marriage relationship? And again, it goes back, what about us dating each other? Where's our priorities? because they get all out of whack.
Well, yeah, and especially when you have kids. When you have kids, all of a sudden that dating thing isn't even in the forefront anymore for a lot of couples. It's, okay, what do we have to do with the kids? What do we have to do with the kids? Well, the kids are also learning about dating from watching you guys. So if you're all just focused on the kids, making it about the kids, how are they learning for that season of their life? How are they learning how to date? Like what you do as boyfriend, girlfriend? Because you ideally, throughout your marriage, you should still have that boyfriend, girlfriend mentality where you're still pursuing each other and you're still being affectionate. You're still serving each other throughout marriage, that your kids can see that and understand that dating continues throughout. It doesn't just stop once you get married.
Correct. So I think it's important to talk about the importance of dating.
Okay.
And I know you kind of went into it there a little ahead of the game, but
I don't think I was ahead of the game.
I think you're a little bit ahead of the game,
I don't
babe.
think so, but okay.
You were.
I mean,
You're again. Remember the diligent? Is that what it was? The other word you're trying to get on to the next point? Is that what it was?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The godly characteristics of a woman. It was the top one.
Oh,
the first
yeah,
one.
yeah.
But like really understanding why dating is important. Okay? Because again, the priority gets taken off when we shift into this other gear of husband and wife. Like you said. And the front side boyfriend and girlfriend, dating just like, okay, this is what we do. We're dating.
It's natural.
It's like a priority in the relationship. But when you shift to husband and wife, now sometimes our priorities shift. Which in essence, it throws things out of whack. It throws the relationship dynamic out of whack. And a lot of people don't realize why it's important to continue to start dating.
I don't think people realize until there's an issue that they don't feel as connected as they once did.
Exactly. Okay, let's think about this. Say you get a car, right? You're driving a car and you start to hear some, well, it's called knocking, right? You know, if I say knocking, you know what that is? Like in an engine?
Sure.
Okay. It's called knocking in an engine, guys.
I'm just trying to see how we're going to correlate dating to...
I'm going to tell you. Because
Okay,
you said
go.
Most people don't recognize there's a problem until they see something that's happening that goes, well, wait a second, what's going on? In a car, if you continue to drive and you don't change your oil, typically what's going to start happening, you're going to start to see something with the car start to make noises, start to smell things. Anyway, something's going to happen to make you go, okay, something's wrong here. Okay. There's something indicating something hasn't been maintained properly. Okay. You with me? In the relationship, you have signs and signals that usually are communicating to you something's off here. Right?
Of course.
We're not feeling close. We're not feeling connected. We're starting to get short with each other. Right?
Okay. So what do we do when that starts to happen? What does a couple do when that kind of stuff starts to happen?
Well, that's why first you have to recognize what's going on. First, you have to identify the problem, is what I'm trying to get at.
Okay.
And since we're focused on dating, typically this is one of those silent killers that I see in relationships, or we see in relationships. Like we have people that come and talk to us, and one of the questions we ask couples very early on in our time together, how often do you guys go on dates? Right? How many times do we get people looking at us like deer in the headlights?
Well, sometimes they just look at each other, and it's
well, they always look at each other like, I don't know how to answer this.
Are we going to answer the same? Like, what do you think?
When did we meet?
Yeah.
Okay, 15 years ago. We dated 15 years ago? What?
Well, a lot of times it's, well, we don't really have a lot of time because we're busy. And
yes, that's one of the excuses.
So,
but people aren't dating.
Right.
So they're looking and seeking guidance for their relationship, for their marriage. And one of the key components right out of the gate is they're not dating each other. And I know this is just one aspect of it, but when that connection is not there through dating, usually it bleeds on into communication, it bleeds on into intimacy, it bleeds on into every other area of the relationship. Because dating is such a vital point of connection in the marriage relationship.
And again, we're bringing this topic up because we're really, when we talk about dating and the next generation, right? Dating in the next generation, like what we're teaching our kids. We just really feel like, I feel like parents need to be more aware. Husbands and wives need to be more aware that their dating habits are getting passed on.
Correct.
Or lack thereof.
Correct.
Because if you're not pursuing each other like you did when you were dating, your kids don't really get that picture because most of the time they weren't there when you were dating, so they don't know
So
what that looks like.
what you're saying is that dating's important, and it's not just because you guys like each other. Like there's other aspects of why dating's important in a relationship. Like there's other needs that are getting fed through that avenue of a husband and wife dating each other. And what you're saying is
The kids,
yes, it's great for our relationship, but it is
Yeah.
also impacting our children.
it will, because they're going to, we as husband, wife, and mom and dad are their first model for how to relate to other people,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
And more importantly, how to relate to the opposite sex,
Okay.
because they're seeing us, our dynamic at home, whether we're in the kitchen cooking together, whether we're sitting down watching a show together, whether we're cleaning the house together, like all that stuff, they're watching and paying attention.
Mhm.
And that becomes kind of their internal script, sort of say, for when they get older and how they're going to respond and what they're expecting in their life.
Well, let's make it let's bring it home. Make it personal here.
Okay.
Because we learned this very important principle that dating has to be a part of our relationship.
Yes.
What do you feel has been the most impactful lesson that we have taught our children?
Oh, there's so many.
Well, just
Are
start
you
off with
kidding?
one. Like, what's some practical things that we've done in our relationship that man, that was like looking back, I'm so glad we did that.
Well, one of the things that we did when it comes to our boyfriend girlfriend relationship in
Mhm.
marriage was make sure that the kids know that our time for us as husband and wife is important.
Yeah.
It's essential to a thriving marriage. For them to know that and understand that. And I think a way that we communicated that early on was that we allocated time for them, but then also when it was bedtime, we had a bedtime for them that they knew, hey, our door is shutting now. You're going to your bedrooms. You're like, this is your time to go to bed and relax, and this is our time to connect as husband and wife.
Mhm.
And they knew that back then it was 8:30 was the doors shutting, lock is on, and don't come knock on the door unless you're on fire,
Yeah.
so to speak, right?
Emergency, yeah.
Or somebody's bleeding or there's an emergency.
Right.
So they knew this. Another thing was we have date days that we go on, right? There was dates.
Well, before you go on to that, yes,
Mm-hmm.
and that's another good point. But that daily connection time for us as husband and wife,
Mm-hmm.
it was almost
Yes.
like a daily date.
Yeah.
And the reason I say this is because a lot of people get wrapped up with dating and they think, oh man, we got to go out,
We gotta make
spend all this
plans.
money,
Mm-hmm.
we got to make all these plans. It's
Which
like,
those are good too. Let's not
they
discount
are,
those.
but it's not realistic to do every single day.
Right.
However, carving this time out daily to have this connection, this date time for us as husband and wife is very practical.
It prioritizes the relationship.
Right. Because really dates are meant to feed your relationship,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you really think about it, you don't eat once a week, right? You're going to be hungry all the time if that's the case. Your relationship is the same thing. You can't feed it once a week and think it's going to be enough
Right.
to survive throughout the week.
Yeah.
But that daily feeding of your relationship. And for us, we discovered this time of the day was a good time for us to have. For us, it was an hour and a half to 2 hours
Mm-hmm.
where we could just enjoy each other.
Just have connection time, have different conversations about
We had
different things.
conversations. We would watch shows. We would
We would talk about the
we
shows.
would talk
and-
about shows, have a little snack, or do something, just something to bond with each other.
Mhm.
It wasn't all business all the time. There were times when we needed to talk about stuff
Right.
we're going on in life or the kids or whatever. But for the most part, we look forward to that time.
Well, that
I looked forward to that time every single day because I knew
Mm-hmm.
I would have your undivided attention.
Absolutely. I still do. Still to this day. I mean, now we're down to one kid left.
Less distractions.
Yeah. However, I still look forward to that time, that connection time that I feel always communicated to each other that the relationship is still a priority.
That our relationship's still a priority, and we each are a priority to each
To
other.
each other. Yeah.
Because I think at a time we even put that on the calendar, didn't we? Like, did we do that
Like-
for the daily date day?
That nighttime, I think we established that early on and we just did it.
Okay.
Like the
couldn't
door
remember
was
if we-
shut at 8:30 every day, and then that was our time to connect, and now it's still a thing.
Well, yeah.
It's it's funny because a lot of our family members would still joke
They still razz us
and
about
say
that.
back then, oh, they're the old folks, they're the ones that go to bed early and this, that, and the next.
That wasn't even what it was about.
It wasn't about going to sleep at 6 o'clock in the end. I mean, nobody's in bed at 6. I don't know what they were talking about.
I'd kind of like to be in bed at 6 sometimes.
However,
yeah,
it definitely worked to our favor when it came to our marriage and our connection.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like it's almost like a habit where we formed early on that stuck.
I 100% think it's a healthy habit.
It is.
Yeah.
Going to bed together is something that they saw us doing.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't see one of us go to bed and the other one's hanging out watching TV forever.
Yeah.
They didn't see that disconnect. They saw us going to bed together. They saw us getting up together. Even those times back in the day where you were getting up super early to go to work and I wasn't going to work, I was a stay-at-home mom, I would still wake up with you. And we were still working things out together in the morning. I was making coffee for you. I was helping with breakfast and basically helping you get around.
Right.
But we still had that little bit of connection time in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Then we would have conversation when you left because you would call me on the phone and we would talk. However, it was important for our kids to see these are certain habits that feed your marriage and your relationship and your connection, your intimacy grows.
Right. So I know you mentioned it, but let's talk about, what we coined Friday date day.
Yeah.
Okay. So literally, guys, what we did in our relationship, that we still do it to this day, and it's not 100%, but we try to make it every week,
pretty
if we
consistent.
can, outside of something's going on with the kids, at their school and that type of thing.
Right.
But we coined Friday date day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that we put in practice long ago. And I know people are thinking, what? Friday date day? Like literally, we blocked it out on our schedule, put it on our calendar that on Fridays, we were going to have a date day.
Right.
And again, it wasn't about going out and spending a lot of money and doing all these crazy things, but it was a day that we have carved out, again, for us to go do stuff to be boyfriend and girlfriend.
Right.
Like look for different restaurants or stuff we haven't been to, look for different activities. We've been kayaking on our Friday date days. We went, where else?
I know.
I don't know if I want to tell all the kids because they're going to know what we've been doing. They're going to start feeling.
Well, you just shared that with our daughter this past weekend, and she was like, "You guys did that without us?"
Yeah.
Thought it was pretty funny.
You got more examples, like some of the stuff we've done on Friday date day?
I don't know. We've been to different parts of our city that we had never been to before. Mm-hmm. We just try to do different things, but it's just really that reminder of, hey, we're still boyfriend, girlfriend, even though like we're husband, wife, we work together, we're raising these kids together, we maintain our home. We're still making each other the priority.
I think it's important to be intentional.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something intentional about it where you put it on the calendar and you plan for it and you can look forward to it. Like, this time is going to be set aside especially for our relationship and for us.
Well, I think the great thing about setting these habits early on and the kids seeing this kind of, day in, day out, week in, week out, was that it became a habit for them too, to start seeing us carve time out for us to do something together.
Well, and as they got older and they could talk, what I mean talk is have conversations.
Right.
They would be looking forward to us to have our Friday date days.
Right.
And they would bring it to our attention. Hey, it's Friday date day. What are you guys doing today?
Yeah.
They would ask us questions because they were interested in what we're doing on our Friday date days. Mm-hmm. And it literally brought joy to our kids' face.
Yeah. Like they understood that this was something that needs to be done in relationships. And I think the beautiful part of this is seeing how putting these principles in place that we learned early on were important, and it's through our connection with each other and God, because we always have God in the center of our relationship, understanding how God will continue to do a work even in our kids' lives as they grow up and get into their own relationships, that we start to see, you know what, it actually is a thing, like where you put these principles in place and you teach your kids and they will do them.
Well, it kind of ties back to that, the idea that your kids are always watching. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to relationships, we are their model. When it comes to marriage, we are the model of a husband and a wife and what marriage looks like. And we have to be really intentional what we're communicating to our kids because it does matter. It is important.
Yeah.
And they will play this out when they go into their relationships. As much as they have pushed back at certain points, there's things that are sticking in their thought process and in their ideas. And when they kind of framework this is what marriage is supposed to look like.
Yeah.
This is how a man or husband is meant to interact with his wife. This is how his wife is to interact with her husband. And that principle of carving that time out for a date day, a date time, that's something I know that our kids are going to take away with them. And they're going to have that healthy practice in that marriage relationship when they find that special person. And that just warms my heart. You know what I mean? Like, everybody wants their kids to do better than us. Yeah. And I wish that I would have learned this earlier in life. But I'm grateful that I did, because I know my kids learned it at the earliest point in their lives.
So we're seeing that fruit as one of our kids is dating and sharing with us some of the stuff that is happening in her life. And it's like some of these things that we've put in place, some of the conversations we've had with each other and with them, so they can understand healthy practices and healthy habits in a relationship, and fast forward into marriage. They're understanding this, and it's awesome to see that they are watching, they are listening, and if you put good things into practice, they'll do them.
Yeah. So some of the things, because we said that, hey, dating's important. It's not just going out and having dinner, watching a movie. Okay, that's stuff you do, but there's so much things that are deeper than just that, right? And off this form that we're looking at here, and this is a loose form, we pulled it up because we were just talking about the topic. But one of the things it is that in doing this, we're showing our kids how to show affection.
Yeah.
We're teaching our kids how to be affectionate, like you said, to their spouse, to their loved one, to the boyfriend, or to their girlfriend.
Yeah, that's how they'll learn. If you are a husband and wife that walk around and you guys don't really show affection to any degree, right? You're just kind of passing each other here and there. And there's no warmth. There's no warmth, right? They don't see you guys drawing together for a hug, a kiss, just like a rub on the back, rub on the shoulders. If they don't see any of that, they're probably going to have an aversion to affection as an adult. Some of them do.
Right.
They'll have an aversion to affection. So pay attention. Pay attention to how, it's good for your relationship as a whole.
I was going to say, I don't think we have any problem with our kids on that aspect. Since our love language each is physical touch.
Yeah, no, I think they've seen a lot of that.
They've seen that.
Yeah, I remember one of them always saying, "Ugh, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that." Yeah,
PDA.
Yeah,
yeah.
But sure. I think it's important for them to learn how to relate in that way.
Well, I wanted to in that aspect, I wanted our kids to know it's good and it's okay to show affection.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because some people have been taught only behind closed doors.
Right. And listen, affection doesn't have to mean y'all are making out and just that's not what we're talking about.
Hey, we're making out, baby doll.
Yeah. Well, I understand, but that's not that's not what we mean by your kids seeing affection. They see us kiss, they see us hug, they see us, you rub my feet, I rub your back. And there's a lot of affection happening all the time.
Yes.
All the time in our house.
Yes.
So, I don't mean that. There's certain things that happen behind closed doors.
I'm not
with
saying
couples.
Rated R stuff. That's not what I'm talking about.
I was trying to clarify.
Why'd you take it there for?
I was trying to clarify.
I'm just saying, I wanted our kids to know it's good to show affection. People long for affection.
Yes.
We are searching for affection. And it's healthy.
No, you want to model that for them. You don't want their model for affection to be something they see on a TV show or a movie.
Well, they're already seeing it, so show them what healthy affection looks like.
Yeah, that's
you know what
true.
I'm saying?
That's true. But you don't want that to be their first model, is what I mean.
Exactly, because the first thing that gets there is what's going to kind of set the stage for them. And if you guys are not showing them that physical affection,
right,
they're going to see it in other places, and it may not be healthy affection. And that's, again, why we have to recognize, just like dating, we're modeling this for our children. Because if you don't show them what healthy dating looks like,
Yeah.
They may get a very skewed idea of what dating is and what this world is shoving down their throats with this whole Tinder, Plenty of Fish. That's the only two that I've ever heard of. That's all I got. And I know there's probably thousands more by this time.
Well,
but like those type of things that are like, that's not dating. That's
that's
it's
the
not
way that
healthy.
people, right.
What I'm saying is not healthy dating. Like really understanding what healthy dating looks like. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I started getting on my soapbox a little bit. It happens every now and then when something just stirs up inside of me.
No, I think it starts in the home. It always starts with mom and dad. I mean, I think back to what I saw my parents doing, right? And what was modeled to me. So I could understand how to be in relationship with my own husband. And I remember my parents were very affectionate. I remember a lot of affection, a lot of hand holding. They would go out, on dates and stuff. They would go hang out either together by themselves or just in a group of other couples. But I did see that growing up and I wanted that. Like I longed for that.
Yeah.
So I think they set a good example in that way of loving each other deeply. We saw my dad would come, more my dad than my mom. I would see my dad come home more regularly with gifts for my mom. Like he would bring flowers.
Maybe that's your dad's love language. Is it gifts your dad's love language?
It could be, but I think it's also acts of service for my dad.
Okay. Because
he would do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
For my mom. But yeah, I remember just seeing all these like romantic behaviors, and I wanted that. I wanted that for me in my future, and I wanted my husband to be affectionate with me in that way.
Yeah. So like the model that you saw.
Yeah, it was just like they were together all the time, and I loved that. So that's what I longed for.
I think it's important for a lot of people to recognize, because now chances are you're listening to this podcast and, you're a little older now. You kind of got some awareness of what's happening and going on. You really stop and think about.
Yeah, I don't think we're really talking to kids right now.
No, what I'm saying is that if you really stop and think about now, when you think back in your childhood, if you were lucky enough to be able to see your mom and dad together, because I know that's not everyone.
Right.
But if you've seen your parents together in those moments that you knew they loved each other, like you've seen that connection between your mom and dad, that does something to you internally in your spirit, right? Like you said, you witnessed, you saw it, it made you feel loved. That's what you go out and you look for in your relationships. You look for those same things that make you feel that same type of connection and acceptance and love, right? And that's why, like, sharing this with parents now, just as it mattered to you as a kid, it matters to your kids. And again, that's why it's important to date. And your kids want to see you guys connected and loving one another.
We've said it before here that it gives them a sense of security and stability and structure in the home when they see all these behaviors with the parents that are making them feel loved because they see you loving each other.
And I know we're going about a little bit over 30 minutes, but
wow.
Well, I want to talk to the parents before we wrap this up, because this is a big point. Because you mentioned in the beginning, one of the things that people push back when we talk about dating, it's either we don't have money or we don't have time.
Yeah.
And both of those things, let me just talk about the money.
Yeah.
You don't have money problem, you have a money management problem.
Right.
Because you need to spend money where it is needed and where it's going to be the most beneficial for you. And sometimes you got to allocate that to different areas because it's a more important area.
Maybe you got to stop buying the Starbucks every day and use that money
whatever
for a date.
Whatever it is,
Just saying.
Cut out one of those 15,000 streaming services now where they suck us all in.
Yeah.
With all those different things. But what I'm saying is that allocate the funds to where it's going to be the most beneficial for you. Right? I always tell people, hey, don't worry about the Disney passes if you're not paying for your mortgage. It doesn't make sense in my brain.
Right.
You got to pay the mortgage first, and then if you have money, pay for the other passes. The same thing with this.
Right.
Dating has to be on that list where we're going to allocate the funds. It doesn't have to be a lot, but enough where we're at least investing in that area of our relationship.
Yeah.
And this is why. Oh, the second part. The second part was the time thing that we hear a lot from people. We just don't have time. We just don't have time.
We're too busy. Too busy.
It's not a time problem, because this is the truth. And I heard someone say it. I don't remember who it was. Maybe you do. Everyone's got 24 hours in the day. Everyone. I don't care if you're the president of the United States or the guy digging a ditch. And nothing's wrong with either one. They both have their own struggles. But the point is, those guys have to manage the 24 hours that they've been given.
Yeah.
right? If it's important to you, you will find time for it.
Mm.
That's just the God's honest truth. And the same thing, you may need to cut other time out for other things that are less important and invest that time in what's most important.
Right.
And we always share with couples, babe. It's God, spouse, kids, everything else. Why? Because that's the function that it works the best when we do it by God's design.
That's God's design.
Spending time with God, right? Spending time with each other, spending time with our children, and then everything else. Like, your kids need to see you dating.
Right.
Hands down.
They need to see what that pursuit looks like. They need to see, how do they know to pursue, like for our son, how is he going to know how to pursue his future wife?
Yeah.
He didn't get to be there when we were dating, so he doesn't know what that looks like, but we get to teach him by what we do. And of course, through conversation, right? Meaningful conversations.
Yeah.
What that looks like.
Yeah, for sure.
So
my point is saying that scrap the excuses. Scrap the excuses. If I don't have money, I don't have time, because that's all they are, is excuses.
Right.
And find the time, find the money, make it happen.
Yeah.
Because again, these things have to be in order, because if they're not there, it's going to be very harmful to your relationship.
Yeah.